Hey, we're live. It's Saturday. It's 9 p.m. in merry old England, and it must mean it's time for another The War Room. And look who we've got today as our special guest, Mr. Mark Herman. So privileged to have you on the show, sir. Thank you.
A pleasure.
Thank you.
So before I ask what Mark's been up to, Nate, how are you?
Doing well. I appreciate people who reach out to me. I had my grandfather passed away just a couple weeks ago, and so went up to go to the funeral and spend time with family. So that was a good time and sad occasion, but thankfully we're pretty sure that he didn't suffer. It was very quick, so we're glad that the Lord allowed him to pass away quickly instead of having to suffer. But on war game side, I did miss David Heath last week, which I was very sad. But I was very thankful and wanted to extend my gratitude to Lock and Load for sending me.
Done. Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Mark. Every time somebody mentions Lock and Load, it's like Lockheim. You know, we've got to do a.
Yeah.
So I get a beer. I can get a beer.
There you go.
Self a beer.
So they Lock and Load sent me this. I want to very much appreciate that. And as
wait, Nate, what does it say? First, what? I can't read it.
First victories, Wellington versus Napoleon. This is
yeah, I've been a lot of people have been saying nice things about it. I'd like to check it out.
Yeah, tactical Napoleonic battle game. So then there's he also sent me Close Quarters Battles Waterloo, which is like
tactical. It's Hougoumont, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, Hougoumont and Liaison. What's the scale? 5 minutes of time scale, map hex 25 meters. So it's pretty down there.
I've been to Hougoumont many times, actually.
Oh, okay. I'd love to go someday. But
I dare say, Jester, us two aren't going to get much of a word in with these two going on. In history, it'd be great. It'd be great,
like everyone else. And it's fine. It is absolutely fine.
That's fine.
This has been one of the most
Rough Swordsman. I'm just going to say this: when Rough Swordsman announced a couple weeks ago that you were coming on the show, I think Nate almost jumped out of the chair. He was so excited. He was so pumped. He's like, I got so many questions for this guy. I love this guy. I cannot wait to talk to him. He wouldn't shut up for like 25 minutes.
Yeah, I will say, Nate, by the way, as a grandfather, I'm very sorry to hear you lost your grandfather, because as a grandfather, I want to hang around longer.
Well, I appreciate it. He was going to be 89. He was a wonderful man, and he actually cool story was he was a woodworker, and but he made caskets for a living.
Surprisingly enough.
Yeah, for 35 years, and but. He was an amazing woodworker, made all kinds of stuff for our family and everything. And when I have one older brother, and the story goes that the deal was that when both of us would get married, that he would make a bedroom suite for us. And so my brother got married 2 weeks out of college, and he made him a bedroom suite. And then I'm not married. So at some point I said, can I cash mine in for a new computer desk? And sure, no problem. And I said, I really love the tables that are in the Apple Store, the kind of light wood where you could see the leg corner on the end. Sure, no problem. And this was like, I think he was 72, 73, something like that.
My age.
He walks into an Apple Store, doesn't say a word to anybody, just starts measuring. Nobody stops him, and he goes home and makes it. And that's what I have now.
Sweet story.
Oh,
yeah.
Jester, how you doing? And then we'll get round to see what Mark's been up to.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I had a great week.
While you're doing that, I'm going to go start saying hello, because we've got 60 people already. So it's crazy.
I had a great week. I played Tuesday night. I played with Mike Butterjelly. We played Wolfpack online over on Nerd Workshop's channel and played his new game, which was a lot of fun again to get back into the swing of that. And then I started a new series this week with Grand Prix, where I took all the friends of the channel and put them into their own personas online. And Nate and Ruff are in the race. If you haven't watched it yet.
Oh, right.
Mike.
I haven't.
But I will say this: if
haven't seen
I
it.
won't spoil what happened, I would highly recommend you check it out. It's a couple episodes. But Nate has got the worst online persona of anyone I've ever had. We have Cardboard Commander right there, who actually took Nate, and Nate made it one box, and got shot down and killed. In my racing game, Nate literally started in last place. It was poor Nate. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? You can't buy this kind of luck. But
It's okay. I'll drown my sorrows in Diet Dr. Pepper.
That'll do it.
You
I
know,
would recommend you watch the race though, because a lot of interesting things happened, and we have Herman Lutman, Mike Butterjelly, a couple of the YouTubers, my co-hosters. You guys are actually a team. You're called the co-hosters. You have your own racing team, and it's just a lot of fun. So I've been busy doing that this week and having a lot of fun.
So that's good. Sorry, I have to keep up with the chat. There's so many people in the chat, so it's absolutely wonderful. Mark, how you been? What you been up to? Anything you can let us into? Any secrets? Any upcoming nonsense that you want to release to the world? But
I mean-
how are you anyway? You're good, yeah.
I am thankfully well. Just got back from Europe, and going to take another trip with the family soon. So looking forward to that.
Nice.
And I was working on Army of the Potomac before we got on.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Excellent.
Nice.
Yeah,
So,
so Defiance
I
and
haven't-
Triumvir are now more. Well, Defiance has been pushed into the art department at GMT, so that's moving that way. And Triumvir is will go in by the end of the month, so that'll take those two off, and Army of the Potomac will get front and center. And I'm starting up some new projects, so we can talk about that anytime.
Yeah.
I got lots of questions.
I know. I bet you have.
Yeah. He's got lots of questions. I got a question. I know you do, and I asked this for all the designers. This isn't just for you, because I find it very interesting. A lot of designers, even though they spend hundreds and thousands of hours designing, they also play a lot of games. Do you find yourself still playing a lot of games?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But mostly
so-
solo. I mean, I have to say mostly solo because
We like solo.
it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
What do you find yourself playing other games besides war games as well? You play like Euro games? Do you play Ameritrash? Do you do sports games? Nothing?
Oh, well, wait. Well, you're going through all. So if you could name a lot of categories. So I do like sports baseball games.
Okay.
I play. You ever hear of History Makers Baseball?
Oh yeah, History
Yeah,
Maker,
I play that, and and then I also play Replay Baseball.
Replay
That was
baseball?
a Berg favorite. Berg loved Replay Baseball. We used to play that. And then, I play, what else? I was playing Guns of Gettysburg, Rachel Simmons game. It's upstairs. I was just messing around with that. I like that game. I'm always playing Empire of the Sun, just because. In fact, it's right there. In fact, while I was waiting during the thing, I was trying to figure out what the next Japanese hand.
Oh.
So that's, and then, I mean, I can talk about it. It's kind of funny. You ever hear of Hero? Like you've heard of Hero Clicks, Mech Warrior Clicks,
Yeah.
right? So I know I haven't seen it in a long time, but I used to know Jordan Wiseman, who was WizKid's founder, and he made the click system. I'm sure he's done quite well from all that. But I did a card-driven game for Mech Warrior that I was working with them on, and that's where a lot of those cards got into their system late in the later expansions. A bunch of cards on like weather and planets and all that kind of nonsense. But and the other day I found the folder with all my notes, and I pulled it all out, so it's all sitting on the table. I got Mech Warrior stuff all over the place, messing around with that. It was always a fun system.
Oh, quick one from Nordic.
What's that now? Any news on? Yes. Well, hello,
He beat
Nordic.
me to it. I was going to ask you about that.
Well, it is. So It's done. Let me just start with that. It's done. Now, where it is between done and in a box and back in America, but as you might have all read in the news,
Yep.
this tariff thing has gotten really is creating a lot of real problems for the if you publish and you got a lot of projects sitting in China.
Yeah.
It's not good. What can I
So
say?
let me, if I can ask, because like for
Oh,
Thunderbolt,
could I just say, if I know I put Nordic's question up, but if you can keep your questions till later on, I know I pointed that up because it's because I wanted to know that as well. We'll answer your questions. We'll have an open house.
That's what I was going to ask, because I had the other 2 copies sitting here. I was going to ask him about it.
Yeah. Like I said, Thunderbolt is totally finished. Like I said, it's been through the art department, but I don't know exactly where in the conveyor belt of printing it is. But I know one thing I do know is it's not printed yet, but it is done. So I don't know, with everything that's going on, how that's going to play out.
What kind of, I'm curious of like because I know that Richard had a map at least for Thunderbolt. I saw like the Hispanic
the Iberian map. That was what happened was obviously he passed away in summer of 2019. It would have been like around July something, late July of 2019 he died. And I was talking, and then we had the pandemic, and somewhere during the pandemic, I was I'm very good friends with Mark Simonich, and I've known him forever, and he mentioned to me that Richard had sent him the Iberian maps, and so that's what gave me the idea to get a hold of Alan Ray, who was our developer for Great Battles of History, and I want to be clear, Alan did. If I say Alan did 90% of the work, I'm understating what he did. I just want to be clear how this went. But we did get it. I was able to get the project moving, and Alan worked very hard, and I did a couple of scenarios, and I wrote some nice things about in the designer's notes, and it's done. So, and remember, there's going to come, I guess, and you've already got 2 of them.
Yeah.
So you can buy it like just the 3rd volume.
Right.
But there's going to be like this, Uber Deluxe. Well, that's the question that Nordic asked. The Uber Deluxe thing is, one of the choices.
Yeah.
And you get everything.
That's what I've gone for, Mark.
That's what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
I mean,
might as well. They're all
why
3.
not?
You got to. You're dumb if you don't. Yeah.
And it's like, it's the Pope's last ride. So, at least I got that done.
That's why those games are, or any type of ancient operational level games can be kind of tricky because,
absolutely.
I mean, as you know, in like ancient warfare, it's not like anything like modern day, and so just 2 armies coming together and then that's it. That's the end of the campaign.
Well, certainly for that year. Yeah. Typically. Yeah. I mean, usually the winner gets to go around ravaging for a while. That's always good fun, or starting a siege, or,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's it's a tough scale. Berg was, Berg was always reading just like me, and he'd read and he'd find something, and it would be like not a big deal. Like when one day he found in some damn book, like the name of all the pilots and planes that were in North Africa, and he says, well, I'm going to do this gigantic game with that mode. So that's how campaigns in North Africa started. He found out the names of all the British pilots and their plane numbers or something. So with that series, he found like the names of every consul and who ran for election, and he said, and that political system was the basis of the rest of the damn thing.
Yeah.
So that's just how he operated. It was always amusing to me. What would trigger him, to do something.
I definitely do like that part of the game. It is fun.
Well, yeah, I mean that's it's very Berg,
Yeah,
it's got lots of chaos, and
I loved. Now I gotta find it. It's in the back of the rules.
Well, while you're doing that, we've got Truckee, 70 odd people. If you haven't said hello, say hello. If you're new to the channel, say hello, because we'd love to see you again, see you for the first time. And can you smash that like button for me? Because I need all the help I can get. So thank you.
Here we go. I'll show everybody. I loved the humor in some of Berg's rule sets, and the 13.0, the auguries or the console's chicken is finger licking good.
Berg. I don't know if you ever knew. Berg wrote a novel, like a novel once, and I don't remember the title. I have a copy of it somewhere, but the brothel was called Bed, Bath, and a Blonde. That was the name of the brothel in the story. That's just kind of a sense of humor.
That's funny.
How did that? You see, I know I'm not an expert on everything like certain other YouTubers. How did you and Richard Berg become a sort of double act partnership?
So this goes back to, I think the first Origins is 1974. I want to say. Let's say that's true if I'm off by a year, but I think it's 74. And I get to and I was in college still. I was 19 at the time, and I go down to Baltimore, and I have my $35. I have $35, which for me was like a ton of money. And in that day, I could have bought, if I was careful, I could probably get like at least 5 games, maybe 6 for $35. And I walk into the hall, and the first thing I see is this 4-map La Bataille de la Moscova with 2,000 counters. It cost $35. So I didn't last about 4 minutes with my $35 budget. And so now I had more money. And I was walking around, talking to people. And then this guy, Larry Groves, who was the guy who sold me the game, I was the only dope to buy a game for $35 when every game then cost like $6. So so he says he wants to set up a game and start playing and teaching people how to play. So he sets the game up in this room off the hall somewhere, and we start. And so for the next 48 hours, I play La Bataille de la Moscova. And into your question about, I guess it would be, let's say it's Saturday night going into Sunday morning. I couldn't be exact. It's probably more towards Sunday morning. And this guy, Richard Berg, walks in and says, "What's going on?" He goes, now there's a bit of a buzz now because, a bunch of crazy people are playing this gigantic game, which was unusual then. And he did get to sell more games, so it did work for him. So I'm just here for Larry, was one of the designers of the La Bataille system. And so I talking to Berg. He's from Queens. I'm from Brooklyn. He's older than I am, but we just hit it off. And then when I was in college and I was starting to try to ingratiate myself with the SPI guys, I came in and I play tested Terrible Swift Sword, the Pickett's Charge scenario, and then I got a job there, and then we just started working. We just got along. And then he and his wife took me and my girlfriend. My girlfriend's upstairs, by the way. And they took us to a party they were going to. And we just, Karen and Carol hit it. When the women hit it off, you're good. Yeah. And so we became like fast friends. And that's just how it started. Yeah.
That's
just
cool.
Got along.
Nice. Because it's a great partnership. You've done many, many, many.
20 games we did together.
Yeah.
Yeah. 20 games.
I've got the latest reprint here. Still going to get it open.
Oh, Hoplite. Yeah.
I saw, Jester, I saw your comment yesterday on Facebook that someone, I guess, had posted that they had played all, I think it was 31 scenarios in the Great Battles of Alexander the Great.
Yes. Yes. We've talked about that many times on our channel about How is anyone going to experience everything a designer wants you to experience? And
this chap has.
This guy, I said, you are a god among men because. Yeah.
And I think when I next host this, I'm going to be talking sort of obliquely about that because it might be, bang for your buck games. Are they worth it? Because will you ever play everything in the box? So. We'll have a look at that. Oh, somebody's complimenting you on your book there.
Oh, William. Thank you, William. I'm
kind of curious, like when you
Another great loss. Yeah.
When you do design a game that has, multiple scenarios, like I wonder, like how much do people actually get through them?
Look, obviously it's, people do what people do, and
right.
But the thing that I try to do,
I like to have the option.
What I try to do is every one of my games. So look, everybody talks about Euro games. You said Ameritrash. I'm not sure what that is, but
That's
okay.
dice chucking zombie stuff. That's great.
All right, zombie stuff, whatever. But there are a lot of different kind of games. And he goes, "Oh, this is an easy game. It's fast to play." And I go, and I've played a lot of Euro. There was before pandemic, we had a very active great game. So I've played a lot of Euro games, but I don't own any, but I've played a lot of them. Especially all the Kickstarter stuff, which without mentioning names, I'm mostly underwhelmed by the way. But anyway, but great minis, always great minis.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Oh, that's a $20 fine for having that on your phone.
No, you know what? I'm in the basement and I got a baby in the house. So if they need me, they're going to call me. I'm going to go.
Sure.
So,
right.
But
They
anyway,
used to have a music shop, and everybody picked a guitar up and started playing "Stairway to Heaven." That was it.
Yeah.
They got a fine. So okay.
I don't think they let you do that anymore. I've had that ringtone for about 30 years. Anyway.
Sorry,
I lost my train of thought there for a second. I apologize.
Scenarios.
So every one of my games. So I played these Euro games. They were supposed to be easy, and they'll take 4 or 5 hours. And it's like it's overstayed its welcome so long ago. I don't even know where to stay. So every one of my games has a 3-hour scenario. So I think that. So what I'm trying to give to the audience is, look, there's a campaign game. Got that part. But, that's like a convention thing or, Pacific War, which is over there, It's got 34 scenarios. If you played the strategic scenario, okay, God bless you. Nobody ever finishes it because it just takes too damn long. But it wasn't meant to do that. It was meant to do these, Coral Sea and, Eastern Solomons and all that. And so you have choices of, I got 2 hours, I got 3 hours, and there's a game there. And why would you buy a game if you can't play it, right? I mean, at least even once, for God's sake. So I always like to have a lot of scenarios so that there's always a 2 or 3 hour option. That's really the thing. So, and by the way, 3 hours in a Euro game and 3 hours in a war game is the same 3 hours, right? Unless you're like changing the speed of light and all that crap.
That is true.
And so whether somebody plays all the great battles, you owned it and you wanted to enjoy it, great. I mean, that's why we did it.
Yeah. I actually those two have been getting on me for the last year because I did not own anything of the Great Battles of History series. And finally I thought, okay.
He's a newbie. We're sorry. He's a newbie.
Okay.
I got the Great Battles of Julius Caesar. So I'm
a
looking
good one.
forward,
I had a lot of
doing that one.
Yeah, so what happens typically with Berg and I is, and remember I had a full-time job and his full-time job was, doing that, game design. So so one of us would be the lead and one of us would be the follower. And it just happens that Julius Caesar, I was the lead. I was the lead on, Alexander, SPQR, Julius Caesar, and Cataphract were, and then a lot of the expansions. Berg loved just cranking. He called. I just finished another expansion. What? So he sent it over to me. I look at it. So he was always rolling along. But anyway, I remember doing Julius Caesar. That's a good one.
There's tons of counters in there.
Some of those Roman Civil War battles are huge. I mean, Munda in particular is a gigantic battle in North Africa. I mean, it's a big it's a big battle.
Hey, Ruff, I put a link in the chat.
Yeah, I was waiting for them to finish. I
know you were. So it's great that we get Mr. Herman on this week because he's opened the floodgates for us. I finally got in touch with Mr. James Billingsley, and he's going to be coming on the show next week. He said if Mark can do it,
that's it. That's what he said. He said if you got Mark on, then I'm coming on.
You get Mark,
in fact, I talked to Gene 2 days ago. I talk to Gene all the time, so Well, especially this whole tariff thing is just nuts. So
next week's show is going to be it's going to be GMT Games Day here on the War Room, and we're going to have Gene on. So I just wanted to
I'll check it out. I'll come and cheer him on. One of the problems is that I wish Monarch Avalon still existed. I mean, I'd be happy to publish games in the United States, but there is no publisher. I mean, I don't want to get into the technical part of publishing, but doing no bleed printing is not, for children, and you just can't get anybody. There's no one-stop shopping in the United States anymore, or even in North America. You know,
Yeah.
you got to go to like 4 different. If you wanted to, you know, every so often they do a game that has like, you know, Taiwan. If you have, you're not going to print a game about the invasion of Taiwan in China. Okay, that's just not going to happen. So if that kind of game has to be published somewhere else, and so it's a nightmare. Even with all, you know, just nobody knows. Nobody can do everything like the old Avalon Hill guys, you know, Monarch Avalon could do. And I went looking for them. Apparently, they're not in business anymore. That's sad.
It's sad. Wow. No, it is, you know, and it is an issue for us war gamers. The only thing good to come out of it is my credit card saying thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, well, when do you see the prices after you saying thank you very much?
Oh no, this is it. I'll be going, or maybe not. Yeah, this is the problem though, isn't it? And when the price, and I think I can't afford that. I can't justify it. Yeah, and that's going to affect people like you, people like GMT and other publishing companies. And
I'll be fine. You know, but you know, the thing is that, and I've always been this way.
I don't want to get political, you know.
No, I'm not looking to do that. But I'm
it's
saying
what's happening.
But going back to the scenario thing, like if somebody said to me, you know, you have to get rid of all your games, but you can keep, you know, pick a number, I would have no trouble with that. I mean, because I have so many games here that are just, you know, literally collecting. You know, I opened them up. I looked at them once, punched. I'm not a collector. I punched the counters. I set them up once, look at it.
Yeah, same here.
And unless it's really a topic or a thing that I'm really interested in, it just goes back in the box. And I've been moving them, you know, and I give them away, or you know, I have a friend who's been selling them off. You know, just here's a series. I'm never playing this again. You know, ship it out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, if I didn't buy another game, I've got plenty here to last me until you know I shuffle off. You know this.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally maybe a dozen games that I play regularly.
Yeah,
and then there's about another dozen that I play once in the blue moon.
Yeah,
and there's like another dozen that I will play like, you know, over a 3 or 4 year period to play, get on the table once. And after that, I don't need any more games. I mean, it's just fine.
Yeah. This all might have the side effect of forcing us to be content with what we have.
Yeah, I know, but I'm terrible. I'm an addict, you know.
Yeah, but see, everybody's been getting, you know, especially a bunch of us have gotten a little bit older. We go like, I have too many games. And the answer is, if it gives you satisfaction even to have it, then who cares? If you can afford it, you're happy, you're happy.
That's how I'm trying to convince the wife.
Hey, look, I remember when I was a kid and I got my 6th game, my mother said, "Why do you need so many games?"
Right.
Now, you know, she was around, she'd go like, "What the hell?"
Right.
So last count, I had somewhere in the neighborhood of 680 games here in my little room, and I just like, there's just so many, I can't even keep track of them all, let alone play them all.
Yeah. And I'm like,
I've been slowly getting rid of them, but I probably had, forget about the magazine games, because I stopped getting all magazine subscriptions for one, but I have easily 700 plus games, easily.
Sure.
You know, I don't even want to count.
Yeah.
I don't know how I do it.
I haven't got the room. They're all piled up
in this room alone.
They're all piled up on the tables here. I've got no more room on the shelf. I've got to stop, Mark. I've got to stop.
Whatever works for you, Dean. Yeah. Whatever works for you, man.
Yeah, that's right.
But the question is, what I do enjoy, though, is I like playing them. So, you know, there's always something in fact, the reason I ended up doing Churchill originally, long ago, was I was reading this book on World War II diplomatic history. I said, I got a book game pairing thing, and I go looking for a game and go, there's no game on this. I said, well, maybe I should do it, and that's what happened.
There you go. I'm actually interesting. You mentioned Churchill and I guess the whole series as a whole, because I am interested. I started recently playing your Peloponnesian War game, and I was kind of curious of like, I think as far as I know that this was first, and then Pericles came later.
There's no connection between Peloponnesian War and Pericles other than the topic. There's no connection whatsoever.
I was kind of curious of like after you had done this, that what sort of did you think was missing or whatever that to prompt you to design Pericles? Like, because I know that's more political, and this is.
So going back, I mean, the original one's over there somewhere, but I'm not going to go off and look. But the copyright on the original would be somewhere like, I guess, around 91 or so. I mean,
Sure, yeah.
say 91, 92 is the original. And what happened was, but if I say JFD, Jim Dunnigan, who I still am close to, and in fact, I'll have lunch with him soon. He, for about, he leaves S&T and, SPI falls and all that stuff. And then I leave Victory, and I get a note from him. He says, "Hey, I'm the editor of S&T Mag." He was like, for a year, he was again the editor of Strategy and Tactics. "I'd like you to do a game for me." And he said, and it would be cool if it could be a solitaire game. That's all he said to me. And I just had this idea to do, I don't know if you know this guy named Alcibiades. You ever hear this name?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alcibiades was an Athenian who, over the course of the war, changed sides.
I got my Thucydides back here.
Yeah. But well, actually, you have to have Xenophon if you want to catch the last couple of changes. Yeah, you got to have Xenophon also. Yeah, you have to have Xenophon. But and so I got this idea that, and the other thing is, I never thought, paper. If you could see like what the paper logic, how could you not beat it, right? I mean, it would just be trivial to me, and it is trivial still. So I came up with this idea that you had to fight yourself, and that was really the trick there.
Yeah. It is really interesting that, like, as you're doing well, and then all of a sudden the game says, "Nope, now you're on the losing side now."
Well, I mean, that was the fun part, right? Keep digging yourself out of a hole. Which, when you read, what's interesting about Thucydides, and if I could wax for a moment, is it's very rare when the loser writes a history of the war. Mm-hmm. Usually, it's the winner. So the most epic, one of the best sections of the book is the Sicilian expedition. The epic disaster would never have been captured that way if it had been, a Spartan writing it, right? They'd look at it differently. So it's fascinating to hear how they screwed up, and it's all written down. But that aside, so what happened was, there was a guy, I don't know if you ever heard of Admiral Stansfield Turner.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, he was a 4-star admiral in the United States Navy, and he was the head of the CIA for a period of time. And it just so happened that he and I became close, after he left the military service. And he had a class, and he saw my Peloponnesian War game, and he said, "I'd really like to run my class through this." And I had already started doing that with the National War College, because one of the problems you get when you're trying to teach strategy to like air, you got the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Air Force. They have very service-specific cultures. And when you put them into a strategy session, you tend to get more, air power is more important than armor. You get that kind of, but when you go to the ancient world, nobody's got a trireme and nobody's got a spear and a shield, so they can actually drop away all their culture and talk about strategy, asymmetric strategy. So the game was being used in the military establishment, that particular game. And so I designed a version of it for Stansfield Turner's class at the University of Maryland. And it was played for about a decade, pretty much what Pericles is, with two teams and the infighting and all that. And then after I did Churchill, I said, I should take this and turn that into the next game in the series. So I guess there's a little bit of an evolution, only because it was the idea of the Peloponnesian War, but Pericles really was originated from another side of my life.
Sure. Well, I definitely have enjoyed Peloponnesian War so far. I like that.
I've got to get it now because of what you're saying there, that you swap sides and all that sort of thing. I don't know where I'm going to put the thing though. But
solitaire game, rough. I know you like.
I know.
It actually, I'll tell you what you should do. Isn't there a vassal module for it?
Probably is.
Well, while you're doing that, there's much love coming your way, Mark. Everybody's loving your games.
Just so Simon, I think this will work.
There is one.
So when I say that I play Empire of the Sun all the time, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
That's a permanent. That has not moved. That map and those. Well, I mean, the pieces moved, but the map has not left that position for, I don't know, at least 5 years.
Good grief.
I was going to ask you about that game specifically because that's kind of my holy grail game that I just can't get my head around. So, what would you say is the best way for someone to tackle that game?
I'll play you.
Oh, okay, all right, that's great.
There
I
you
would
go.
love to play you.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
that's
there
bullshit.
there's a. You ever hear of a guy named Ben Harsh?
oh yeah,
Yes,
Harsh Rules.
yeah.
Harsh
Mhm.
rules.
I
Yeah.
watched
Ben
his
did
tutorials.
a
Yeah, he does a great
great
job.
Yeah, he did a great series on Empire of the Sun. And there's even a guy who is almost better, but you have to be able to speak fluent French, which I don't. But there's a French guy, but if you ever he did a fabulous 4-piece set on Guns of Gettysburg, and his teaching style is phenomenal, and his graphic, So if you could but there is a French version of Empire of the Sun, but Harsh Rules has got it laid all out. So look at that first.
Okay.
And then, we could get online on I'll send you an invite to Discord. We'll sit and play it, a few turns,
Nice.
and you'll get it. It's just not that hard.
All right. Yeah,
Rough-
we've
But
done that
what
with
it is,
many
is-
games
yeah,
here.
it's very intricate. See,
Yeah.
it's got, and by the way, the solitaire systems have multiple purposes. Usually, like in Peloponnesian War, the solitaire system is only designed so you can play yourself, play a game competitively. It's a competitive thing because you're playing against yourself. There are other bots that are there just to fill in for a seat that's empty. But the Erasmus bot in Empire of the Sun is there to teach strategy. So even myself, sometimes when I'm playing the game, I go, what should I do now? I actually pull it. It's me, but I pull it. What did I say I should do now? I really, and I do that. In fact, I'm thinking of doing that with the Japanese right now in this game here because I'm like, they just got crushed at Truck, and
Not that one.
I don't know what to do next. We'll play you, aka Whip Your. We'll play you. Oh, hey, Mike. Oh, it's Mike. I know Mike. He's a good guy. Mike, didn't Mike do? I like this game, Tank Duels. That's
Tank
Mike,
Duels,
right?
yeah. Tank
Yeah,
Duels.
it's a great
Wolfpack,
game.
you just
We've had some
Great
good times
game.
with that. We've had some very good times with that game.
And Wolfpack recently.
Yeah, I have it. I just haven't had it.
Yeah.
If I'd
Tell
stopped
me about
designing
it.
games, I had more time to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
I've been pushing out. The hardest thing to do in game publishing from a designer point of view is a lot of people design games, but you got to know how to finish. Get it done and get it produced. And so the last 8 weeks has been getting Defiance and Triumvir
Over the hump and out.
out of my life and into somebody else's life.
Yeah.
I'm done. Mike, I'd love you to teach me Wolfpack.
There you
more.
go.
Playing every Tuesday night, and so you can join us, and we
Sure.
can.
What do you use for a platform?
We use
Was it Vassal?
Vassal or no
Tabletop
Tabletop Simulator.
Simulator?
Yeah, but how do you talk to each other?
Like this.
We have a
Steam,
just like
yeah,
this.
SteamYard. Yeah, I have a Discord. Yeah, I'd love to play it sometime. That'd be great.
I
I'm
don't
always
know
looking
if
for
you
a
can
game.
answer this. Rebel Fury, is that on Steam?
It is.
Yeah.
There's a guy saying, obviously having trouble.
How do you get Rebel Fury on Steam started? I don't understand the question.
Maybe he's having problems getting it loaded.
Well,
or whatever.
look. Here's the thing. I had a young intern named Charlie working for me, helping with stuff, graphics on the computer. And Charlie sends me a note one time. This is like last summer, and he goes, "Hey, do you know how to? I'm having this problem." And he said something that I don't even understand what the words were. And I go back, goes, "I'm 70." That was my answer. Now, Charlie, to his credit, figured it out after that. But he was looking for help for me. So whoever has it, so the Steam
same
thing,
here.
If Steam works, it should just work. I mean, I have it on Steam. It works, and that was a nice thing. Bob Tipton is his name. Good guy, and he hooked up with Roger McGowan and did Gettysburg, and so Gettysburg got done, and then I saw the Gettysburg thing, and it was great. So I hooked him up with GMT and me, and that's how Rebel Fury got on there, and it's been very successful. And also he did Waterloo also. So there's so it's but I really do like playing Rebel Fury on. In fact, that's one of the few games I actually play on a computer because it's just it's easy.
I Ruff, just to let you know, there is a vassal module for Peloponnesian War.
Oh,
Oh,
is there?
good.
Damn. Right.
So there you
Just
go.
so Dean, just get it on your computer and mess around with it. The rules are online. If there's anything you don't need, I'll send you the PDF of whatever you're missing.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
It's fun.
not true. It's not true, Mark, what everybody's been saying about you. You are a really lovely chap.
I mean, at the end of the day, I started a lot as a gamer who just somehow managed to. I don't know. Luckily, one of the advantages of my age is that, like when I went to college, I had my father was a frogman, so I knew how to swim really well. So I go to college, never swam in a team in my life, and I tried out for the college, I made varsity first, just made the varsity, and I was swimming in college, but I didn't have to go with a resume like I had this coach, it's just like you could just show up.
Right.
If you were willing to show up, you could do stuff. And so even game design, I showed up and SPI, maybe their receptionist, and it worked out. But it's just, the world was not better, but it was just less intense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I had, Mark, this was 2018. I was in grad school doing my master's in history. And
What school?
What's that?
What school?
Liberty University here in Lynchburg.
Oh, Lynchburg. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so I was taking a class actually at the time on World War II. And
Heard of it.
Right. And great class, really enjoyed it. We actually got to go, professor actually took us to Norfolk, got to see like the Wisconsin and the MacArthur Memorial, and we got a tour of the archives. But anyway, I had never actually, at that point, I had never played Wargames. I didn't even know that they existed. All I knew was what was on the computer. And a professor of mine, actually, we were over at his house for the department, had a Christmas party. And so I was a grad student worker, so they invited us all there. And at some point, he goes, "Would y'all like to see my game room?" Like, sure. Okay. I have no idea, So we go up there and it's this big table and he just starts pulling out left and right these games that I had never even heard of before. And I go, "Where have I been? Where have I been?" And he goes, "They've been around for like 50 years. So, oh my gosh." And so I go home and I bought, I bought my first war game was The Dark Sands from GMT.
Yeah, it's over there. That's my good friend, Ted Racer.
Yeah. Well, later on, I was specifically, actually, I have it right here. So one of the books that we were reading in the World War II class was this book, The GI Offensive in Europe by Peter Manzor.
Actually, I've never read that one. Good book.
Great book, all about the creation of the American infantry divisions.
Okay.
And so I was looking for specifically a game on the Western Front. And this happened to be my first Mark Herman game.
I like that game.
I had no idea who you were. I saw this game and I'm like, it looks cool. So I picked it up and started playing it. And this little fanboy here, I love this thing.
He's off.
I am off on that. Yeah,
you're getting look.
Right.
You're always
That's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. No, you never get rid of the books ever.
Or is it?
That's right. There's a book that I just pull and it opens.
Yeah.
You see, my shelves used to be full of books too, right?
No,
So
I keep the games are down here. The books are upstairs.
Yeah.
So long segue to that. One of the things that struck me specifically when I was playing this game was how much that you had wrapped in the history into the game mechanics. And as a historian, it's one of the things I, as a historian myself, like want to kind of ask you, and I'm curious to pick your brain on, how do you go about getting the history distilled down into a game? Because one of the things I really liked in here was that, the old adage that American and the Commonwealth military, their superiority and the number of weapons and tanks and everything, just, overwhelmed the Germans, but yet you include in here that the Germans still put up a significant fight despite the overwhelming number of odds against them. And that was one of the things that I really liked about France 44. So
as I wrote in the subtitle of my book, I'm a historian who designs war games. I'm not and that's important to answer your question. So Dunnigan, I'll quote Dunnigan freely all the time because it's kind of where I learned my trade. And he used to say, if you were to say to Jim, how much history do you pack into a game? And he would keep it historical, but not to be overwhelming and all that. And he would say, keep it simple, smartly. That would be, and he has said that. That's an exact quote, by the way, that he has said to me. And I think about that. It's a very deep quote. So Jim's, method, which I'm very much a student of, is you want to have, look, I did Empire of the Sun, but ultimately there's only like 4 levers in the game. You just don't see it. It looks like it's more, but it's really not.
Yeah.
And so you got to pick what is the big muscle movements that have to be in the game?
Sure.
And then how do you drive it through a few mechanics? And I don't mean like 40 mechanics. I mean like 3. Yeah. 3's already, 2's better than 3, and 4 is not as good as 3. So, in that ballpark. But one of the most important things in that particular situation is that the Germans, because of their experiences on the Eastern Front against, the Russians had this amazing set of tanks, and the Germans had, the Panther was built to stop the T-34, and the Tiger was there to stop the KV-1 and KV-2. There was a technology race going on. So by the time we showed up with our Shermans, the advantage of the Sherman was we could keep them running. The Panther was very quirky, maintenance-wise. I mean, I can go on I've met many of the.
At least it was better than the Elephant.
Yeah, but I mean, I've met a lot of German generals, and talked to them about some of this stuff. Von Mellenthin and Bolk and all that stuff, and so you get the real perspective from their viewpoint. And what you realize is that. And by the way, one of the things that I'm very big on is breaking myths. There are a lot of myths in wargaming. So going to France 1944, any game that you reach back on a World War II game and more is better, right? I get 3-1 odds, 4-1 odds. I'm going to do better, and I keep beating you up. The reality is when you have artillery, more guys usually leads to more casualties. You may still win, but you're going to. And that's a lot of. You have to differentiate winning the battle and how many casualties you take are not synonymous in real warfare. And so what happens in that game is you might beat the Germans, knock them back, but you may lose a lot more guys than they lose because, they've got better tanks. And remember, one of the advantages of like a Tiger tank is you get to learn not to get killed. In other words, you get hit, but you don't die. Mm-hmm. In a Sherman tank, you're a rookie. You get hit, you likely die. The thing bruise up, so you never get the second chance. So some of these German tank crews in these tanks were we couldn't. In fact, I worked with a guy named General Hollingsworth who fought in the 4th Armored Division in World War II under Patton. And Hollingsworth was a real card, but he told me that one time the 4th came up to this hill. And there were 3 German Tiger tanks, which was the platoon, and these guys they couldn't get past them. So they literally brought up the Army artillery and they knocked the hill down. You're talking about 8-inch guns and 155s and 175s and air power. And they found pieces of the German tanks, but that's how they knocked out the Tiger tanks. I mean, a Sherman couldn't knock out a Tiger tank except, you saw that movie Fury. You could somehow get a rear shot, but we're not where the smart money was going.
No.
So that's what I'm trying to capture in France 44 and the logistics. They were running low on logistics and they don't get to move around as much. And so they got to be very careful how they move. And it helped that Hitler gave them some bad orders near if they had pulled back earlier, it would have been a much tougher fight.
Yeah. That's one of the things, like you mentioned, that the simple mechanics, like the way that you have morale in the game, that determines sort of how.
Sorry, that's what I was trying to get up there. Just say hello to Tweez. Yeah.
Like the morale, like really has a massive impact on whether or not you get to actually win that combat or not.
And that's a hallmark of most of my games. It's still, until we get into robots, in the future, maybe it's still a human game. In real war. Look at what's going on in Ukraine. I mean, conscripts versus veteran troops doesn't work so well. I mean, typically. Right. Now, you throw enough artillery at somebody, you're going to kill people. There's no doubt about it.
That's what I think Thomas has put there, historic wings.
Yeah.
Dug in against the Russian artillery.
Again, if you mask you can't mask, the other thing that's really, in the past, if you were like, you would dig in, but with drones, they know where you dug in. They just throw, they make a big hole. It doesn't matter how far down you dig; they can make a big enough hole. You're somehow not going to make it.
Yeah.
So you got to keep moving, and so you really are dealing in the world of screens. There's some people up there, but mostly you've got guys covering the drone units. So
yeah.
They can,
I will tell you, on my part, as much as I love this game, I'm looking forward to what it says on the back of the box.
Yeah, so this is
44.
So you guys know Judd Vance was the developer of and Judd's a fabulous guy, and he had he and I both were dealt with cancer. I mean, that's just how it is. Now he and I both survived it, and so but I told him I'm not going to do Russia 44 unless you're doing it. So he's got to get the energy up to do it, but I'll only do it if he does it. I'm not doing it without him. So talk to Judd. By the way, the map is already done for Russia 44. I also insisted that we do one, because getting the same artist twice and everything is just tough. So the whole map was done at one time. We had the art for the map already done. It wouldn't be a terribly hard project. I already have the order of battle for the Germans for sure. And I just need a Russian order of battle, but that shouldn't be, not that hard. Yeah. And I already know what most of the rules are, so it can come together pretty fast. But like I said, I need Judd to get excited.
Cool.
Okay. I don't know how you guys do it. I've got all this. 100 odd games. Dear oh dear.
Well, what it is to do the research. To do the research. Remember, it's a core level, division level research. Yeah. So once you're doing the research for France 1944, getting the rest of the German army is just not that hard. Right. I mean, I was already doing the Germans. I hadn't done the Russians, but I had the Americans. I had to do the Germans to know who was going where, especially when you get into the thing. The original Victory Games one didn't go as far. I took this one all the way to 45, which I didn't do in the original.
Mm-hmm. So
that's when I had to start dealing with these the Führer. They used to call them Führer brigades. But basically ash and trash. You might have a platoon or a company of real soldiers, and then they would just tag on kids and old men and that kind
anybody. Of stuff. Is that stopped now? Spearhead.
Yes. That was done by a nice guy. His name is escaping me at this very second, but I'll remember it in about an hour. But he did the game, and I was doing Defiance with David Doctor. And by the way, the phone call was from David Doctor. He calls me about. This will be the 5th call today, so he'll survive. He's getting nervous that we're actually in the art department. He's like, "What about this?" I said, "Calm down. I'll take care of it. I got this.
I've done this before.
I'm like the Mariano Rivera of the situation. I know how to do this part. Don't worry about it. The game's going to close and we're going to win. So just hang in there. Go to Paris."
So speaking of Mariano, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go
ahead.
You
going to buy a car from him? He has a car.
No, I was going to say, speaking of Mariano Rivera, I would really like to see how you would design a baseball game. I think it would be very interesting. If you put your mind to it, you could do it.
I could, but let me be clear. The biggest problem with a baseball game is either you're going to go totally abstract and nobody wants, it'll be amusing, but it won't be very good, or you have to have the players. And there's two contracts involved with the players, right? There's the Players Association. So if you look at History Maker Baseball, right? They didn't work with the MLB, they work with the Players Association. So you got the names of the players, but it'll just say New York. It never says the Yankees anywhere on any
say
card.
the Yankees, correct.
Yeah, it's like the New York and the American League.
So you can bypass those by not using logos and team names. Yes.
Right.
So
and then you have to have, be into like just crunching a lot of crazy numbers. And the answer is there's some great ball games already. It's just I got other things I want to do. But but like I said, my favorite solitaire baseball game is History Makers Baseball, and if I'm playing against another person, I like to play replay baseball.
Right.
And I used to be a big Stratomatic guy back in the day, but I've been very disappointed with them. They came up with this whole very intense defensive chart. They sold that as like their big new thing. I get it. And I'm going, where is it? And it was like this folded up piece of paper with the components given how much money those guys have made from baseball, they can at least give you like one decent chart for this important new thing. So at that point, I just said,
don't start him off on Strategy Matter. Don't start him off. He's
anyway, I just discounted him after that. But they do have a better lefty-righty system. But see, I think Replay Baseball is really the best one of all of them from a capturing.
I would have you look at payoff pitch and inside pitch. Try those. But look at.
There's like I said, I don't know. Berg was. I was a Stratomatic guy. Berg was a huge. He loved baseball games. Major, and he had. I heard he's had when he was alive. He had every single one that ever was, and he knew he knew what he liked and didn't like, and what was right and wrong with them, and all that kind of stuff. So, but I finally just settled down. Like I got enough other things to do, but I have two games I like. I just stick with those, and I know how to play them.
That's fine.
Yeah. And mine is
sometimes you mention something to somebody and they go, "Yeah, it's a great idea," and sometimes they go, "No, screw you."
No, that's right. Well, that's it.
I don't know.
If we're ever sitting in the same room and you bring the game out, I'll play you a game and you'll show me how to. I understand the rules of baseball. I used to play baseball. I know the rules.
Yeah, my favorite is Season Ticket. That's the one I just play.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
That's great.
I have 23 different baseball sims, so there's plenty of variety out there. I just thought it would be interesting to see another one.
Koi's reminding us again that we're an hour in already.
He won't let us leave, will he?
No, it's good. It's good. He's keeping us on track. We've got to do our bits of nonsense now, haven't we?
Well, and plus I have a question about a game for Mark, a game that's I think you're working on. I think you posted on Twitter. I want to ask you about, but we'll do it after.
We'll do that afterwards.
I'll let you guys your show.
Yeah. So Nate, you're going to do yours first.
Sure. Okay. So I have two books to show for Nate's notes because we're coming up to the anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic. I've always been fascinated by the Titanic. So I thought this is my one shot a year that I can recommend a Titanic book. And it is this one, Titanic: An Illustrated History.
Wow.
John Lynch, big. Ken Marshall. I love this book. Great book. Just love the artwork that Ken Marshall did. Always loved studying the Titanic. But then I have another book to show, and kind of goes with the Thunderbolt game that will be coming out. Who knows when, but hopefully soon. A lot of books on the Roman side of things, but there is not as many books on the Carthaginian side, and particularly like a history of even just the Phoenicians in general. So this book, Carthage Must Be Destroyed.
I read that one. It's a good book.
It's a great book. It covers not only the history of Carthage, but also history of just the Phoenicians in general. And love the story of the founding of Carthage and Queen Dido, and she cuts up the strips.
There's even an opera, Dido and Aeneas, but
exactly.
But, that's more just like Romulus and Remus fight
Oh,
down in
yeah.
Rome.
Yep. Oh yeah, and that's what I love the like. If you try to think of them, let me back this up. I've known some historians who have tried to figure out the time gaps and to get if these were real people. Queen Dido's in the 800s, and Aeneas and the Trojans are in the 1200s. So there's a bit of a gap to cross.
So I wrote in when I've done a couple of Peloponnesian games, and the thing that I was
I've
taught,
never heard of them.
Yeah, I know. But what I was taught, my actual original degree was in 5th BC Aegean history. And a city-state, my old professor, Professor Lean, defined a city-state as a group of people who had a common origin story.
Mm-hmm.
They had a piece of land that would be subsistence farming land, and they would have a administrative, an agora, an administrative market center, and that would be a city-state. So the origin story is a big deal, right? So they all have an origin story, right? It's Dido and Aeneas, Aeneas being, the lost prince of Troy, meeting up with this woman who he then, jilts and all that kind of thing. And that's why the war, and it's just another story for why Rome and Carthage hate each other, because it's really, unrequited love. And please give me it. It's great stuff. But did you ever read, by the way, speaking of the Titanic, you ever read A Night to Remember?
Oh yeah, I got it over here.
That's the only one I've ever read. So that's my whole Titanic history comes from that one book.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
And the other thing is the old Kenneth More film about the Titanic, the black and white film. That's quite good.
Yeah. Well, look, it's a sad, bloody story. So it's not
I hear you, Coy. Yeah, I hear you. Right, let's.
We're about to have a. We're going to have a guest cameo.
Oh, nice.
Who's that?
Well, you'll see her in a second.
I'll belay me history bit for a sec.
Okay. Come here.
I can hear her.
Hello. Come here. Come here. You got to take this out for a second, okay? Because I want everybody to see how pretty you are. Come here. All right.
Hey.
Yeah, little pieces, right? She's looking at the chest set. Hi. Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
This is Claire, by the way.
Hi, Claire.
Oh, that's
Claire.
awesome.
That's so cute.
Beautiful. Wow.
She's getting over a cold, though.
No.
Yeah, which is okay.
Keep it away from me. No, don't give it to me.
No, don't worry about it. So say hi to the nice men. Say hi.
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 Wow. Definitely the cutest thing that's ever been on our show.
Yes.
Yeah. The grandma and the mom are over there. So anyway, continue, please. I'll do. They take the mickey out of this history bit because they say it's all British history, but we have got a lot of it. So
and airplane history. Don't forget about that.
And airplanes. But there is some of your guys' stuff here. But we start at 1204. The Crusaders of the Fourth Crusade breach the walls of Constantinople and enter the city, which they completely occupy the following day. And then something that's dear to our heart, in 1606, the Union flag became the official flag of Britain. It combined the flags of St. George, England, St. Andrew, Scotland. As Wales was not a kingdom, but a principality, it could not be included on the flag. In 1801, the Cross of St. Patrick Island was incorporated to create the flag that has been flown ever since. God bless it. 1776, American Revolution, with the Halifax Resolves, the North Carolina Provincial Congress authorizes its congressional delegation to vote for independence from Britain. See, that's where it started it all. You rotters, if you'd have kept quiet. And then in 1782, in the American Revolution, a Royal Navy fleet led by Admiral John Rodney defeats a French fleet led by the Comte de Grasse at the Battle of the Sands off Dominica in the Caribbean Sea, or as you say, Caribbean.
Hey, but
79
we
What?
were thankful. We were thankful for the one French naval victory in the entire 18th century. Helped us out.
Yeah, the pesky French and Spanish, yes. And then 1796, the War of the First Coalition. Napoleon Bonaparte wins his first victory as an army commander at the Battle of Monnot, I think it's pronounced, splitting the Austrian and Piedmontese armies away from each other and marking the beginning of the Piedmontese surrender in the war.
That's in a game.
Yeah, which one?
The Library of Napoleonic Battles. It's the
One of them, yeah.
Bonaparte overruns Piedmont.
And then we've got 1831. This is quite a famous thing over here for sort of military historians. Soldiers marching on the Broughton Suspension Bridge in Manchester caused it to collapse, reportedly owing to a mechanical resonance induced by troops marching over the bridge in step. 40 of the soldiers were thrown into the river. As a result of the incident, the British military issued an order that troops should break step when crossing a bridge. So I think most armies do that now when they cross bridges, long bridges anyway. And 1861, American Civil War. Here, Mark, Battle of Fort Sumter happened today. The war begins with Confederate forces.
This evening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, already started. It was at like at 3:00 in the morning or something.
Ah, there we go. I'm glad that turned up. I thought that would be.
It surrenders tomorrow.
Yes, the war begins with Confederate forces firing on Fort Sumter in the harbor of Charleston, South Carolina.
Have you any of you guys ever been?
I've seen it from a distance, but I haven't been able to go to it yet.
I've been to it twice. It's actually fascinating.
I bet. Yeah, I'd love to go.
We just build car parks over our sort of monuments and war things,
Well, it's out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's about a 40-minute boat ride to get to it.
Right.
Yeah, it's way out there.
It's way out there.
But of course, you are much bigger. I think Texas, the state of Texas, is bigger than
this is just Charleston
United
Harbor.
Kingdom.
And what happens is when the boat gets there, the crowd that was there,
Yeah,
it's like you're basically going to be there for an hour and a half, basically.
So one load off, load on sort of thing. Right, blimey. Also, we had in 1862 the Andrews raid. The great locomotive chase occurs.
Oh yeah, I just saw Zilla Blitz showed. There's a game.
There's a game. We've had the guys on the channel, Wolf Rats. I think one of the guys from Wolf Rats has designed the great locomotive chase. Yeah,
West
Crawford.
Crawford.
It has a bad ending. They all get hung, by the way.
Right.
Oh dear. It started from Big Shanty. I like that name, Georgia. Now it's called Kennesaw. Is that right?
Sure.
You always tell me I pronounce them wrong, Nate. These funny names you have.
Well, when you pronounce Michigan as Michigan,
yeah, well, that's how it's written.
And Appomattox is Appomattox.
Yeah, well, that's how it's written. All right. You say
Appomattox is 20 minutes down the road.
I know you say Birmingham, and it's not. It's Birmingham. Just get on with it. So, what else? Oh, another one. Another American Civil War in 1864. The Battle of Fort Pillow. Confederate forces killed most of the.
Yeah,
It's not a good one. It's not a good one.
It has a bad ending again.
It does have a bad ending because they kill most of the African American soldiers that surrendered.
Oh, yeah, well, Bedford Forest, was just warming up for the Ku Klux Klan, I guess.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, terrible. Yeah, we've all got bad bits in our history. We all have that. Yeah. 1865 again, American Civil War. Now you pronounce this Mobile, don't you?
Mobile.
Not mobile.
No.
Mobile.
I've been there.
We don't have mobile phones. We have mobile phones.
Yeah, but this is Mobile.
I know.
I've been there. This is how they.
It's
done
Alabama.
This is that's how they talk. I went to a restaurant.
I know. It's done with love. I'm just taking the mickey.
I know.
Anyway, the Mobile, Alabama falls to the Union Army today in 1865. 1902, in South Africa, Boer leaders met the British commander Lord Kitchener to discuss peace proposals to end the Boer War. And in 1917, World War I, Canadian forces, God bless them, successfully complete the taking of Vimy Ridge from the Germans. And here it comes, the first flight of the Bristol Blenheim, or as you guys call it the Blenheim, a British light bomber aircraft designed and built by the Bristol Aeroplane Company that was used extensively in the early days of the Second World War. BAC went on to become a founding component of the nationalised British Aerospace, which is now BAE Systems. So let me get...
context for you, Mark. So the first time that Ruff shared a picture of a plane, you could count the number of pixels.
It was a bit bad.
I think the plane took about 3 pixels. It was that small.
Yeah, that's it. It's the only one I could get.
I was looking for my magnifying glass. I can't find it.
Oh,
No, you won't need it.
With
No, you won't
magnifying
need it. Look at that. Look at that beauty there. That is the Blenheim. And it was introduced in 1937. The first flight was today, 1935, 12th of April. Retired from the United Kingdom in 1944, but the Finns still used it until 1958.
Actually, a bunch of those were involved in the defense of Rabaul, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah.
But Australian Air Force, though.
Yeah. Again, God bless them and all. Yeah.
I thought we should also let Mark know. So Ruff is currently playing Skies Above Britain, and it is taking him longer to play Skies Above Britain than the actual Battle of Britain.
All right. I tell you what, after doing my epic unboxing of Fields of Fire, which I'm quite proud of, a 50-minute unboxing, real deep dive. I enjoyed doing that. It's out on the table. The cat has been banned.
Uh-oh.
It's back on the table. Hopefully, part 5 will be out next week, all being well. But there we are. It's a great game. Great game.
Yeah, and you have me stuck in the pub the entire time for Skies Above
and there's
Britain.
Nordic in the hospital along with somebody else, and poor old what's his name? Groucho got killed. Anyway, couple more. 1937, Sir Frank Whittle ground tests the first jet engine designed to power an aircraft at Rugby in England. And just to finish off, 1945, World War II, the US Ninth Army under General William H. Simpson crosses the Elbe River astride Magdeburg and reaches Tangermünde, only 80 kilometers from Belgium. There we go. That's today.
Wow.
Lots happening. Quite a lot happening today.
I think,
Okay,
I
Jester.
think of all that, I think Fort Sumter's at the top of the list.
Yeah, and I thought yes when it came. I thought yes, because if you don't know boys and girls, that's one of
so I don't know if you guys. April 19th, of course, is the beginning of the American Revolution. There, Dean, remember that.
That's next week's show.
You're never going to let us forget it, are you?
No.
Nope.
Sorry, Jester, you'll go.
All right, so what I do is I look at Jester's gems. I try to find a hidden gem that people don't maybe play or talk about. They kind of, it's a good game, but maybe not a lot of people, there's not a lot of videos, it's not a lot of information, whatever. It's a hidden gem, right? So before I show you my hidden gem, I'm going to ask Mark, of all your designs, which one would you say is your hidden gem?
Oh,
Mark?
that's it. Stop asking my questions.
I'm very, a game that I did. It was my first game, and it still has an audience. October War is, nobody even knows that game, but there seems to every so often I get an email from somebody. In fact, this guy who's such a big fan, he sent me a box. He blew a copy of it up to the pieces are this big and the maps are huge. It's very nice. It was very nice of him. And
that's cool.
Yeah. So I like October War.
October War. Okay, I might highlight that one coming up, but I'm going to share what I thought is my personal hidden gem. So I got to share my screen with everyone there. There we go. All right, my personal hidden gem from Mark is Churchill.
Yeah, thank you. In fact,
Which I
Italian.
think is a great game, but you don't see this one talked about very often. You don't see many people like conversing and about it, and I think this is one of these ones. It's a hidden gem. It's a great game. I played it on my channel several times, and I always have a really good time. I play the solo mode, which is very, very tricky to play against. Did you design that yourself?
I did.
Wow, that is a very tricky solo mode. It's very good. I like it so much because of that. And
I don't have Churchill yet. I need to get that.
No,
it's a really good one. It's obviously, if you're not familiar, it's the powers of the how would you
The
describe
allies.
it? The allies.
Well, you're one of the big three. I mean,
Big
you know,
three.
trying to decide how post World War II is going to turn out, right?
yeah, basically, you know, trying to. It was funny. The reason I went to Rome recently was because they released it in Italian, and I was playing Churchill with two very nice men who are Italian, and there's like three, and I was playing the Americans, which made sense, and there was three cards that, you know, the status of Roosevelt relative to the board or to his being alive or dead
Sure.
matters how the card gets played. And, you know, in English, I had no problem, but I couldn't read them. I actually couldn't remember which was which. They had to actually translate the Italian for me for those three cards, like burn, and just so I could play the, hey, how you doing?
Thanks for coming by, Dragon X.
yeah, thanks for stopping
How
by.
come
Anyway.
my copy didn't come with these little 3D figures? That's what I want to know.
So, you know, the answer is I don't know if I have those, but somebody sent me or gave me at a show. They said here, and I have three unpainted miniatures like that. I mean, I don't know if they're the same ones, but you know, obviously it's supposed to be those three guys.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous. I mean, and by the way, I know you're calling it a hidden gem, and I appreciate that. It did very well on the awards side. It won a BGG Game of the Year, and it also is one of the GMT's best sellers. So somebody's playing it. I mean,
Well,
I
I'll tell you what. I did a bit of research, and it's not very recent, but there was a poll on BGG in 2020, and guess what came top of the poll? It was Churchill.
Oh wow!
Was it? Oh,
Yeah.
that's
No,
awesome.
I really enjoyed doing. And by the way, that's the second version of the game. By the way, the first one I
Let me go
finished the
back.
game once.
This one.
Went on the P500, and I'm looking at it, and the game that I had finished, and I said I like it, I just don't love it. So this is the one I do love, you know. So I redid it, and that's what came out.
Yeah, I'd like to. I don't have Churchill yet. I do want to get that one and Versailles.
Versailles we've played, and that's fun. That is fun.
Yeah. And Jeff and I and that's what I'm doing Triumvirate with.
Well, Tweez reckons it's this one.
Well,
Flashpoint. Well, which is, by the way, was the original basis of Defiance, although it got so modified that you barely recognize it as Flashpoint. Go on.
when I saw that Triumvirate was coming out and it's Roman, I'm like, well, I got to have it. It's
Well,
a Roman game.
It's a good time, and I came up with one of the I took Triumvirate to Rome and I played it in Rome with Romans, so that was fun.
Yeah.
Not the original ones, obviously, but
You spoke Latin the whole time, right?
yeah, only if it sounds like with a Brooklyn accent. But I designed the solitaire system flying over the Atlantic, going to Rome.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's kind of one of my. It's kind of cool actually. It's now beaten me 3 times. I'm 0-3 against the bot, so I gave it to Jeff and see how he does now. But it's called Romulus and Remus.
Okay.
And I always like giving them a name. And the reason it's that is that you can play. It's the same system whether you play with 1 bot or 2 bots. In other words, if like 2 of you are playing, you need 1 bot. But if you're by yourself, you get 2 bots. But what it does is Romulus is sort of like you guys all know how to play chess. So and back in high school, I actually programmed the chess computer, chess program. Not very good, but the first thing you have to do in a chess program is, am I about to be checkmated?
Okay.
And then the next question you ask is, am I about to create checkmate?
We're about to lose. Yeah.
I'm about to lose or I'm about to win. So Romulus handles are you about to win or lose this game right now? Questions come from Romulus. Sure. But assuming that Romulus doesn't have any like the major priorities hit, you go to Remus, and there are 7 personality cards. So one would be like a man of the people, and each of the cards has a different strategy that it plays against you. So a great general does one thing, ... the great man of the people, opposition senator, so they have a personality, and that stays in until an election or a human being passes settles an issue. Sure. So, but it seems to really do okay, and it gives you. But by having the strategy tied to a personality, seems to really it's fun. I like it. But I haven't beaten it yet, so that sucks. But
that means it's good. It's good.
Yeah, it's really good. Really good.
Well, you know what it is. It goes back to Churchill. Thank you for acknowledging Churchill. That's very kind of you. I like it a lot. I don't get to play it a lot, only because it's a 3-player game, so I only play it at conventions typically.
Sure.
But I was at a convention. I got to play it in Roman and Italian, so I did play it like within the last few days or the last 2 weeks. But if you buy you were saying, Nate, you want to get a copy of Churchill. So the game's useless to you if he doesn't have a bot. Doesn't have a solitaire system, because how would you ever get it to the table?
Yeah.
So solitaire systems have become what I call a major buy decision issue. Is that if it's a 4-player game, 3-player game, or even a 2-player game, am I going to get this thing to the table? And in a multiplayer game, I think it's essential that it has a bot system. Otherwise, you'd never buy it.
I won't. Personally, I won't buy it if it's not got any.
I don't blame you.
I won't be able to play a 4-player game.
Totally makes sense. Makes total sense.
He didn't buy his favorite current game, Atlantic Chase, because he originally didn't think it was coming with the solo bot.
Oh, it's got the best solo system. You kidding?
So awesome.
No, it's one of my favorite games now. I got it. I got the last copy in the shop over here.
Oh, good. I tell you.
I missed out on the P500. Fantastic.
Jeremy, I tell you, and I've said this in multiple interviews, in the last long period of time, it's the most innovative mechanic that's come along in a long time. And I know Jeremy.
My favorite, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
Jeremy.
my favorite.
And I played the Pacific. I have played the Pacific version of it, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Me. No.
Yeah, and I played with Jeremy, and not to talk out of school, but I did beat him, by the way, in his own game. But anyway,
there you go.
There you go. Battle of Midway. The Americans won the Battle of Midway, so we got to give it a little.
Yeah,
bit
there you go.
But it's great. I can't wait for it to come out.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I love that game is it reminds me again, because you're playing not only the ships, you're playing the sort of overlook, you're in the HQ. It's that film Sink the Bismarck, where they're trying to find it, and the big map, and you're moving the ships around.
It's a C.S. Forrester book, and the book that he's really famous for, though, C.S. Forrester, of course,
I do, but I've forgotten it.
African Queen. He wrote African Queen.
Oh,
which is one of my favorite movies, by the way.
Yes.
I mean, Atlantic Chase was one of those games I introduced to a non-wargaming friend, and he fell in love with it.
Yeah, it really is a fabulous game, and there's no doubt about it. Very clever, and like I said, it's probably got one of the best solid. Every scenario's got its own solitaire. I mean, effectively every scenario has its own solitaire system, or same solitaire system, but very, very specific.
It is. It's wild when like you think that a table beat me.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you?
Anyway, I'll tell you what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, now we've got our bits out the way, and there's about half an hour left. We better see if the good peeps in the chat, which is 80 people.
As gets that lined up. Would you create a block game for us? Because I know Ruff and Nate love block games, so I'm just wondering if
or as Ruff calls them, a BBG.
Bloody block game.
Well, you remember, all block games are basically Stratego, right? Which, by the way, I want to be clear. I'm actually I haven't played in a long time, but I'm damn good at that game because I played it about 1,000 times as a kid.
Me too. Me too.
Block games are great. I mean, again, the problem is solitaire. Yeah, it's just
Yes, that's why we don't exactly.
Yeah, well, like for instance, I'm playing the Guns of Gettysburg, which is a block game basically, right? I mean, just got sticks, not blocks. And it takes when a game is built around hidden information, it gets very hard to like. I can get away with it a little bit with Guns of Gettysburg for some reason, but like what's the one before Napoleon's Triumph, which is the Austerlitz game. It's just like, I mean, quite frankly, I love the game. If I played, Peter Perla, my late dear friend Peter Perla, I used to play that game a bunch of times for a while, and it's great. But playing it solo, it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
Right.
That's the only reason I don't like them.
I don't. Yeah, but that's a totally reasonable thing. It's just that if you had a regular opponent you played every Tuesday and you could play a game, it's great. It's also one of those games that would be kind of. I was watching. You guys all know Fred Saval, and they were playing. They're having a great time playing Napoleon's Triumph, and I was watching it and digging it. But the Vassal module, the Vassal doesn't. When you get those cool blocks, the Vassal module just doesn't do it.
Right.
Yeah, but I would counter with this. You have Commands and Color Ancients. You have Command and Color.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need to have hidden information when you have blocks.
I'm talking.
But that's because you got cards.
About.
The cards. Remember, the Borg system is. Command and Colors is a good time. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
I love it. It's my favorite system.
Well, not. I've got them. What we're talking about, me and Nate, is the hidden ones. I mean, Commands and Colors. It's the same on both sides. There's no hidden info. You've got to play your cards. That's great.
The cards. I play CDGs solo all the time.
Yeah,
because there's enough play there for me at least, and now I did play it a couple of times. They have a Stuka Joe did a CDG solo system, which is ultimately it's just curating the number of cards you get to see and which cards pop up and all that. But I have just as much fun playing solo.
Yeah, so all I have to do is go out to the kitchen, put the kettle on, and I've forgotten what day of the week it is. So when I come back, I'm fine.
That's good. Yeah.
So I have a question on for you, Mark. While people in chat are putting in their questions.
At the chat. If you've got any questions for Mark, put them in there because we've got half an hour left. It'd be great to get him inundated with questions.
I'm all yours, guys. You tell me what you want me to do.
I'm curious to hear. I'm curious to hear that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that you're working on a sort of Empire of the Sun type game, but set in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay. So this is I fanboyed over France 44. Now I'm on this because
see that table.
Look at the size of that game room.
I see it. Yep. I see it.
Yeah. That's the Mediterranean.
The Mediterranean theater is my favorite theater of World War II, and one of the reasons was when I was in grad school, I got to do some research on the Mediterranean theater, specifically the first Battle of El Alamein in July of 42.
I did a game on that, a computer game on it.
Oh, okay. What's the name of it?
It's called Shenandoah. It's called El Alamein. Yes, but I think it's called the battles of El Alamein. But it was done. It was done on. It's no. I mean, I have a. They.
I didn't think it was available
not to upgrade it, so I don't think it runs.
I could probably run it on my computer still.
Yeah, you might. I mean, you need an older computer to run it.
This thing is the hamsters.
But anyway, El Alamein is great.
Yeah, it was fascinating doing the research and especially looking through like certain cabinet papers and things like that. I always love when I go through the archives and you see top secret for eyes only, whatever. And
do you guys know why it's called El Alamein? What that name means?
Go ahead.
So there's a rail. You've all played a North African. There's a rail line that runs down the coast.
I know this bit.
And it ends, right?
Yep.
And the engineers, when they were building it, they stuck two flags in the ground to show them where to stop. To stop the railroad. LLMA means two flags.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
It's the middle of nowhere.
It's
Literally.
still there. It's still there. I've got a question from Nordic.
Hold on, Ruff.
All right.
So I'm curious to ask you about your Mediterranean game.
All right.
So because I've seen a couple of pictures you posted on Twitter, but I'm curious to know like more about it, like in general, like what's sort of the time period, what kind of are you going for in that game?
Oh, okay. So I'm going to try to make this short because you don't got a lot of time. But so one of the interesting things that has happened in our hobby for a long time is my old friend John Prados did Rise and Fall, Rise and Decline of the Third Reich,
Right,
and then eventually did Pearl Harbor. He tried to go to the Pacific. And he probably did the best job of all of them to do that. And then you had Axis Empires did Krieg, and then they did Dicenso. And the problem you have when you go from Europe to the Pacific is when you're in Europe, you're dealing like with Newtonian physics, big things, corps, armies, big, gigantic, millions of men. And then you go to the Pacific and you're dealing with quantum mechanics. A brigade invades an island.
Yeah.
And the scale problem from big to small has bedeviled people for, decades.
yeah.
I'm going the other way. I'm going from quantum mechanics to Newtonian physics by working my way. And the Mediterranean game is there to get me to come up with which I have come up with, is a armor system for, a true ground combat system that could eventually become Barbarossa, but right now it's just going to be North Africa. You got to have Rommel and, El Alamein and all that stuff. The scale of the game is half that of Empire of the Sun, so it's instead of 150, it's 75. Otherwise, the map's too short to do anything interesting. It is air, land, and sea, just like Empire of the Sun, and it's got a couple. At its core, it's a card-driven Empire of the Sun, but it's got some significant. You're dealing with. I've been to Malta. Dealing with the logistics of the convoys, and you've got to deal with the whole supply lines to the Mediterranean is much more involved than it was in the Pacific. In the Pacific, I'm doing, that's one of the problems we'll have in Empire. Going to you, Kirk, in the Empire of the Sun, is everybody's used to. Here's my unit. I trace to the HQ. I trace to the But in Empire of the Sun, what I'm capturing is if you look at any map of the area commands, this is Southwest Pacific, this is Central Pacific, this is South Pacific, this there are these big area commands, and so in Empire of the Sun, the logistics idea is if I'm within command range, I'm like in my command zone, and there's really nobody around, I'm in supply. The ships show up wherever they got to go, and that kind of thing. But when I get near the enemy, that's where the air, that's where the mess is, right? When you're fighting. So the system is based off of this idea of command area, not of tracing paths, which is very big in like OCS and what you guys are used to. So that has been the biggest problem for people to get their heads around, because it's just not like any other game in that respect. Otherwise, you're rolling dice and combat and cards. It's not that complicated. But I find the supply rules, activation and HQ thing, because they're thinking of OCS when it's not OCS, it's something else. And I get questions like, how come it's not like this? It goes, it's not like that,
Right.
So to your point is that's what's going on. And once I figure, and I'm working on it, and it's going to be a while. It's just, I literally just pushing 2 games into the art department, which is going to take up a lot of time. I got to finish Army of the Potomac and what's coming behind it. So it and one other game are the new ones I'm starting to form up on. So a couple, year plus, 2026 maybe.
I'm patient.
I just need to live long enough. That's all I have to do.
I was going to say Nate's young. Yeah.
That's always the problem, isn't it? Are we going to be around long enough?
Dean, somebody goes to me, goes, how you doing? I go, I woke up today.
Yeah.
That's how I start my day. I woke up. Okay.
Hey, why don't you post Mike's comment?
I want to put I'll put Nordic up, then I'll do mine.
Now that I'm done filibustering, as they say.
Yeah.
Okay. So these names, Nordic Maelstrom, whatever your real name is, Believe it or not, I obviously have designed them. I've played them all at one point or the other. But the only game I actually come back to regularly is the first edition of Alexander the Great that I did with Roger McGowan and Berg long, long ago, which has only got 4 battles in it. It has the crummy, the original artwork, which is like, just silhouettes. And that's the one I play because it's, as it became a system, if you read the rules of the first one, it's much more intricate to the details of the battle and when I name things, and it works. As you expand the system, it had to shmush, So
Yeah.
I play the first one the most, and second would be I happen to love all the battles in the Cataphract battles are great because they're small.
Yeah, Rough loves that one. Yeah.
So it's somewhere between the original Alexander and Cataphract.
But I've found that with Devil's Horseman, because it's an earlier game, there's not many rules and it's very compact.
Yeah, also Devil's Horseman, and so that was one where I took the lead on Cataphract. Devil's Horseman is kind of based on the Cataphract, but Berg was the lead on that one. More of a lead on that one when he rewrote the Cavalry Pursuit rules for the 87th time.
That's great. I love that. We love that. Yeah, that's fun. Mike, Butter Jelly, as we call him.
No, Mike. I mean, I'm just not going to be there.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just got back from Europe, and unfortunately, GMT West, and it runs over when I'm going to be out of the country with my family on a vacation in Turks and Caicos. So
nice.
I won't even be.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, the little girl, and everybody else that's associated with the little girl. We're all going.
Nice.
All right. And just say Tony's here.
Oh, hey, Tony.
Any more? Let's have a look. See if there are any more questions.
Coy has one.
Coy.
Oh, that's easy. I was working at SPI. There was a knock on the door. I opened the door. Dunnigan was there. Says, "You're doing John Carter of Mars." Okay.
Okay.
That's how it was it? You just told
pretty
me.
much. I mean, I don't know if that. I was at an R&D meeting. I was assigned the game, and I had never read. I knew nothing about it. So, and it's, by the way, there's 11 books. So I did what I always do. I can do any sci-fi game. I just look at the books as being the history. It's like a history lesson. So I read all 12. Well, actually, there's 12 books, but I only stuck with 11 because the 12th book takes place on Jupiter. The first 11 are all on Barsoom. And technically, John Carter is really only in the first 3 books. Kind of makes a couple of and then he makes a cameo in all the other ones, but he's only in the first 3 books, which is why the game is designed the way it was, so that you could be there's multiple heroes and girlfriends and evil villains and all that. Yeah, but fun game.
That's
basically Battle for Germany on Barsoom, if you wanted to know.
And this one from Christoph.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't talked to Eve in a couple of, actually a bit about a month, but I am like more of a consultant on it. Eve's the one doing the heavy lifting, and I responded to whatever the last things he sent me, and I haven't seen anything in a bit, so I don't have any real news, but everything's moving along. Everything's good.
That's cool. Because I was disappointed that you were supposed to turn up to PunchCon last year, where my wife. No, but Mrs. she wasn't too well.
And I've been married. My 46th anniversary is in a few weeks.
Nice.
And the reason I've been married 46 years is because when she's injured, I don't say, "Hey, have a good time getting back to America."
Yeah.
No, we understood. I was just like,
I don't just let her off into the wild by herself. So, and that's why I'm still married. So no, it was just she got hurt, and she just literally couldn't pick up a bag. She couldn't pick up her bag. She couldn't.
I'm just personally disappointed that I didn't get to meet you there.
Yeah. So I just got to know. You guys know who Uli Blenneman is, right? So Uli. So I'm going to definitely make it to Leros next April. That's my big plan. That's near Lisbon. And then hopefully I can zoom through a little bit of Spain while I'm over that way. So I'll see what else is going on around then. But definitely going to make it there. And my wife's favorite city in the world that's not New York City is London. So we will get back to London.
Let me know when you're back.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact,
We'll do the
you know
site.
Trolley? I mean, I don't know. Do you know Trolley Vasey?
No.
All right, he's one of my oldest friends. Anyway, I see Charlie. He did, Unhappy King Charles. He's a designer.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I just had dinner with him when I was in London. I had dinner with him a year ago in London. Anytime I'm in London, I see Charlie. So we'll talk. But
yeah, just let us know. We can come down and chew the fat and show you around and all that malarkey. Oh, look, tweez.
I'm not going to, the number of games when you're in the business, I will say nice things. I say nice things about Atlantic. If I like a game, I'm going to say I like it. But if there's a game I don't like, I'm not going to say.
I get what you're. That's me.
That's classless. That's just being classless.
Yeah, that's me. If I get a game and I don't like, it won't go on the channel. I'm not going to badmouth it. I just won't be there.
Yeah,
so
great.
Not every game is designed for everybody.
No, that's right.
That's exactly
you just have to know that, right?
What is your favorite Aegean polis? You mean like
city-state?
I mean, I've only been to one, technically, Athens.
Oh,
nice. I mean,
I was there a couple of years ago. It's great.
I mean, I liked the place I had. It's not a city-state, but there's a place called Monte Vesori. It's on the southeast coast of the Peloponnese. It's a medieval.
Yes,
medieval.
I know what you mean.
I got to tell you something. When we were on a cruise and I went there, I love the place. So imagine a guy that's about. I mean, he's a
Montbastier.
Yeah, and big man, young but big, like not a thin, just a big man, and he's got this big wheelbarrow, and he's moving, and as we're there, I keep seeing him. He, remember this, you can't get a car into this place, right? This guy is literally dragging all the food and water for the city. Is what this guy does. I mean, he's got a cart and he's got a wheelbarrow cart. And he's a big, strong guy, but he's not svelte, right? He's just a big guy. He's just walking up the hill with that stuff and delivers it, and he brings stuff. Wow. He brings garbage out, and he brings more stuff in. That's what he did all day long. While I was there, I was going like, "What an interesting job!"
Yeah. So thank you, Nordic, and Blast Pop. Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, good to see Blast Pop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Raid. Yeah, that was a game that kind of got off the rails in a good way. It was supposed to be about raids, and it did have Entebbe, but it became I was hanging out with a lot of guys who had remember this is a lot of Vietnam. Remember this is 19. But Vietnam had fallen only a little while before this, so everybody in my crew was like guys who had been in Vietnam, and I just missed it because of my age, and so. It ended up becoming a Vietnam game. It's not a bad one, by the way. I really like that game, but it's a Vietnam game ultimately.
Yeah.
Our baseball game we talked about. Oh yeah, I definitely would like to see it, Mike. That nice young man. I forget his name, but that guy's got more energy than any 8 people I know.
Sam London.
Yeah.
He's
wow. I was exhausted talking to him. He was, but he's a very nice. I mean, smart as a whip, and
we've had him on the show.
Enthusiastic. I mean, everything you want to see in somebody that age. But boy, I was so tired. He had more ideas. He had more ideas in 4 sentences than I have had in the last 4 months. So
I think I'm the only chap that's brought him down. Sort of like because we played his game. We played
probably 30 years ago, Mark.
Yeah, we played Firefight.
30 years ago, maybe, but I'm who I am now. I don't remember what I was like 30 years ago.
No, but I brought Sam down because me and Tony were playing his new game Firefight, and he wasn't impressed with my tactics, and he was like, his head's. You could hear him doing this,
Was his head about to explode?
Yeah. No.
I hate when that happened. You guys, you've all heard of the old Avalon Hill game Africa Corps, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a kid, the game came out, and I got it. Did I own it? There were 4 of us, and one of us owned a copy. I don't know who owned the copy. Could have been me. And we played it. Remember, it was the only game Avalon Hill came out with that year, so we played it literally 100 times. I mean, that's not like, oh, we played it. We have like the scorecard, and remember we didn't have
Right.
Xerox machines. We actually wrote on the damn thing, and then now fast forward to like WBC. I don't know, maybe a decade ago, and I'm playing in the Avalon Hill Classics tournament just for a goof, and I'm playing Avalon Hill with this, playing Africa Core with this guy. I move my piece, and he looks at me and he goes, "You did it wrong." I said, "What do you mean I did it wrong?" He goes, "You should have moved that piece there, and you should have moved that piece there." I'm like, "Holy!" It's like a Japanese tea ceremony to those guys. That game.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah, some people just get very upset if you don't play it right. It's like, you didn't play it right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd enjoy that, but because I play,
Yeah, it was more amusing to me than bothersome. But
yeah.
but
That's a question for both of you, Nate and Mark.
Oh, Mark will definitely be able to answer this better than me.
I don't know that that's true. I mean, I guess the question, Simon, I'm going to ask you a question that you're going to have to respond. Have you ever read a book on the Pacific War, and you know nothing, or you know a lot? I mean, I don't know how to recommend a book based on your. So
Right,
you got to tell me
right.
you
Yes.
never read a book or you read a book. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
I'd
tell
say-
me, Simon, what's going on?
yeah. Let us know. We'll get back to that. And while we're waiting,
I mean, I'd say for books, I mean, like the two of them that I have that I enjoyed when I was in grad school that we had to,
What do
we
you
had
got?
to do was War Without Mercy. That was really good. And D-Day in the Pacific about Saipan.
Yeah, I mean,
let's see what
so
Simon
that's why
said.
I'm asking the question. See, the Saipan book is a solid. I've actually read that book. I didn't read the other one, but I read the Saipan book. But when you read about a single Pacific invasion, that's a perspective. But so if you know a lot about the Pacific War, but if you don't haven't never read anything about the Pacific War, you're like,
Well, that's
Right.
what. Yeah, we're
There's
just
no
waiting for
context.
if Simon
and
gets
then
back.
the historic wings. No, I mean the update of the Golan game is Defiance.
So
It's just in
we're
Ukraine.
There we go.
waiting on that. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, I think he was when we were playing Microverse. Yeah, he couldn't understand my tactics.
Yeah.
Sam
Yeah.
London, yeah, it's a great game. I think we've had this answered, but
Well, I mean, it's like I love all my grandchildren. I love all my children, which are my game designs.
Right,
I mean,
right.
the ones that I tend to look. There's always a For the People and an Empire of the Sun up somewhere in my house. So
right.
you
So,
saw the
yeah.
Empire of the Sun's literally sitting right there.
I know. Yeah, I know you're proud of that one.
So I guess that one.
I'm sure when you were redoing Pacific War that was there for a long time.
Pacific War was an interesting experience. Remember, I did it during COVID, so it was kind of, and I was developing the game that this 31-year-old had designed. So
I'm sure you had times where you thought, "What was I thinking?"
it was that is true, but I wasn't trying to redesign it. I mean, I tried to improve it, and I think I did. But
I think you did with the rule books. With those rule books, I think you did great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was the original rule book work. I mean, I can't tell you how many people. I'm 70, but I can't tell you how many people have come up to me over the decades and said, when I was in high school, we played that thing to death. So they were in high school when I was, married, 31 years old. So they were like, half my age. The thing about Pacific, if I had done Pacific War today, no, it would have been a series game. In other words, you would have gotten, the 42 version, you would have gotten the 43 version. I just put it all in one box. So everybody says it's complicated. The answer is no, it's just very complete. I mean, I can play the Carl C scenario in 90 minutes. I mean, how many games can you play in 90 minutes and play a whole battle? I mean, it's really quite streamlined, unless you're thinking about the strategic scenario. See, so engagement scenarios are training. The battle scenarios are battles. Carl C, Eastern Solomons, etc. And those are we just got tournaments of those, so you can play those in under 2 hours.
Very, very popular. One of the most popular parts of the game.
And should be, it's well done. The campaigns now, the difference between whereas a battle scenario is one operation, a campaign is multiple operations over multiple months, and there's different size scenarios for all of that stuff, right? The strategic, and you get a schedule of command points. So you're told how many command points you're going to get every month.
Yep.
The only difference between that and the war is all of it. And now you got the command points is variable. That's the strategic warfare piece. That adds a ton of complexity to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot. It's a lot to do. I mean, it's not even hard to do. It's just a ton of it. And it was never, and it was there. I almost put it in because I had to. Remember, this is back in 1985. So I put it in there because everybody was going to say, where's the campaign? And there was a small group that really got into it for a while. But I would tell you that there aren't, I've played it 3 times to completion, the campaign, the whole war.
Good grief.
Wow.
And I did quite through those. Was when I was at Victory. That was my whole full-time job. In fact, the mother of that little child that I was holding, she was that age when I did. She's 41. She was that age, exactly that age when I did Pacific War, just to give you a sense of.
She's the one on the back of the rule book that you put on.
Yeah, that's Lara. That's my daughter. Yeah. She was sitting right there with, it's Claire's, it's her daughter. And so, but I don't think there's probably 30 people who have actually played a full campaign game to the end. They talk about it. A lot of people start it, but they don't finish them.
Right.
And you can't, it's what it is. Now,
It's
with
an
that,
enormous
you may be able to,
patience.
over a long period of time, do it. But you got to dedicate a lot of space for a lot of time to get it done.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Simon's come back and said,
it was a wider cover. Okay. Then, so there's a guy, his name is Costello. He wrote a book called The Pacific War. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's a good, if you've never read anything, that's a good book to read just to give you sort of like
nice.
Now, a great book that is just, but unfortunately, there's a guy named Franks, Richard Franks, I think is his name. He wrote a book called The Tower of Skulls, and it's going to be a trilogy. And that book is phenomenal. And his book on Guadalcanal is phenomenal. And of course, the Ian Toll books that somebody mentioned are phenomenal. But they're going to focus mostly on the naval piece because that's what the books are about. I mean, there's so many good books. But if you want to read a great book, I'd read Costello just to get the big picture. I'd read Tower of Skulls to get what the war is really about with China, and it really gives you the China piece, which is missing from most books. I just wrote an article for C3I magazine, to help finish that magazine up for, now that Roger's passed, on, just the whole Pearl Harbor piece by itself. You can read tons of books on things. So I would still do that, Simon. Just read Costello's The Pacific War. And then the most beautiful part about all books is it has a bibliography.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that just sets you off, doesn't it? Off you go.
And the other thing is, I know nobody does this, but if you go into a library, you've seen those, and you go to the 940.4 section, all the World War II books are there. So just see what you can get for nothing, and just see what drives your fancy.
Yep, nice. It's sort of very good advice there from.
I always love it when you get a good history book that the notes and bibliography section is longer than the actual book.
That's an academic in you. I don't, but I get it.
Well, we got to kind of wrap things up, but I got
get the questions out quick. No more questions, and then we'll get.
So I just have just a little thing is, I'm big about looking at many different games. What would you say is Wargaming's best innovation in, say, the last 5 years or so?
Oh, last 5 years?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't know about 5 years, but I go to Atlantic Chase. I think that was the biggest innovation I've seen in a while.
That was so different. So,
I don't want to. I think how I reinvented hex and counter games, a la Gettysburg, Waterloo, and now Rebel Fury is not insignificant. It changes.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on. You take an old idea, and reinvented it. So I like to think that's something. But beyond that, where's the time gone?
Yeah. And also your CDGs as well. That's
more than 5 years ago. I did the first CDG in like 91, 92.
Been a long. CDGs have been a long time.
Yeah, Empire of the Sun was 2005. For the People was 1998. Then a whole bunch of other ones, obviously.
Yeah, I'm just sorry we've run out of time. Sorry about we didn't get all the questions answered. And
There'll be another day.
God, we'll have you. We'll have you back.
Great.
Certainly.
Love having you on.
Let me know about this Tuesday thing. I could be up for
I
something.
think it's all in the chat. Yeah, I think you're going to get invited. Mike and
Michael will send you an email, and we'll see if we can get you on with Wolfpack on Tuesday night.
That'd be great. I'd love to learn how to play Wolfpack.
There you go.
Great.
There you
Great.
go. You've got the great
better than sitting down with a designer to learn a game. I'm telling you, we've done that many, many times, and we've done it with Herman. We've done it with Mike. We've done it with many different designers. So sitting down with the guy that actually made the game is the best way to learn it.
We're all coming
That's
on.
why I think you're offered to.
It'll be on.
Thanks. Hey, Jose, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, he often pops in because he knows.
Hey, Jose, I need you to tell me when we're going to Spain to a game convention in Spain.
He keeps the one he goes to. He said, "Oh, you've come along rough and do it," So I'll have to do it one year. But yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you, Mark, for being
Mark.
My
for
pleasure.
putting up with our nonsense for 2 hours.
No, you guys look. I'm just a gamer like you guys.
And we have fun. This is fun.
This is all fun, man.
This has been great.
It's too short not to have fun.
Brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
So
when we still got to figure out which card to play. This is really.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I know it's not one of your games, but Ben Hull's Fields of Fire. If you don't know what to do for a staging area, you've got to replace some cards because they misprinted them. They sent you the new cards. Oh. You can just use these. I'm going to put some stickers across here and put staging area. And there's my staging cards.
Really?
I know it's silly, but rather than using a different pack, I'm going to have my staging cards. So anyway, Mark, stick around when we go offline just so we can thank you before you go. Peeps, again, if you haven't pushed the old like button, give it a smash. That would be wonderful.
Let's hear that one more time for next week here real quick.
Yeah, go on then. We've had nearly 90 people tonight. 90 odd people. Bloody wonderful. Thank you ever so much. Because we love you and there is nothing you can do about it. You want to put this thing up?
Yes, I'm working on it, sir. Thank
you.
Oh,
dear. Come on.
There we go.
Oh, right.
Go ahead. Next week. Gene Billingsley, and yes, I got the year correct this time. So
don't worry. I put the wrong date on the thumbnail for tonight. Anyway, so it happens.
Yeah, somebody mentioned, oh yeah, he was on last year. No, it's this year. Next Saturday at 4:00 on my channel, little old me is going to host Gene Billingsley. So looking forward to that. And again, he said once you get Mark Herman, then I'll come on. And so we got Mark Herman, and so he's coming on.
Yeah. He's sort of
you're the gateway, Mark.
Yeah,
he's the gateway.
Gene is definitely somebody. You always say I would like trade plays with people. I definitely right now do not want to play trade plays.
Is there any inside stories you can tell us that we can bring up next week?
Ask him. Ask him how we first met. That's always a good story.
Oh, okay. Right. How you guys first met. All right. I'll definitely do that.
Right, my lovelies. We'll have to love you and leave you, as we say. And we'll see you back next week on Jester's channel. Thanks for all the kind comments and questions. And appreciate it. This little thing has grown over the 5 years we've been doing it every week. But we love it.
If you're ever bored, come on over and visit us. We're always here.
Yeah.
Well, I'll probably, if I can. Unfortunately, I'm going to be your next show. I'm going to be in another country, so not going to happen next week.
Oh well,
right.
Globe-trotting Mr. Herman. Right.
Yeah, when you turn 70, the runway is getting shorter. I got to do some things.
Get there while you can. Yeah. Right. Thanks, Mark, as always, again for putting up with us.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for everybody in the chat.
Good time.
As you say, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And we'll see you next week. So take care. And
bye, everybody.
Happy gaming.